So it can feel kind of daunting to think about installing a third-party solution in your Microsoft 365 environment and then customizing it to meet your own workflow needs. But in this video, I'm going to show you how it doesn't have to be. I'm going to take you through a really easy to implement solution to allow end users to quickly request projects that they might want to initiate and for you to store that data safely and securely. No complex setup, no extra security permissions that you need to really dig into depth on, and no additional software. So the hope is that this will whet your appetite for knowing that it's not rocket science to create the environment that you need for your work to happen, even if you've got a third-party solution. So for now, in this video, I just want you to watch along, ask any questions that you've got in comments, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you want to watch the next videos because you'll get notified. All right, enjoy. We'll start in a place that's hopefully fairly familiar to a lot of you, and that's SharePoint. It's part of your Microsoft 365 license if you've got anything from Business Basics or above. And all we've got here is a SharePoint list. Really briefly, to show you how you create a SharePoint list, if you have a SharePoint site that you have access to, which is what you'll need, you just click the new button and you create new list. Click that, you get some options, but all we're going to do is create a list here. Give your list a name. In my case, I've called it Project Requests. We'll create a brand new one. And we're going to show it in the navigation, which means it will show up down the left-hand side there. And all we now need to do is think about the data that we want to create for our project initiation requests. Now, you always need to leave this title. That's a really important thing for SharePoint and for the tools that we'll later use to get at. You can rename it if you wish, but all we're going to do is we'll leave a title. That'll be the project initiation title. Let's just add a few columns for now. So for the first column, let's just add multiple lines of text. So we might have a title for the project and we might have a justification. I'll just show you one of these, then I'll show you some variants that you're going to want to make use of. So we leave it multiple lines of text, which means people can put information in. We don't want any default values and we don't need any of that extra stuff. So we just click save. And that's how you create columns. Click the add column, create them. Just to let you know that there are different kinds of columns, and in your solution, you're going to want to think about how you capture data. Maybe you want things like, I want a regulatory project or a statutory project, or I want a tactical project or one that's been done for finance. You can set questions like that up in a choice field. All that means is that you can set some predefined options for people to fill in. You give the column a name, you choose the options, you can even choose the colours for the little icons that they'll see, but you can set this up how you wish. So that's one really important column type that you might want to use. There's lots of others, do explore. I'm going to quickly whip to the project request list that I created earlier. So all we've got is project title. To rename that column, if you ever want to know, you just click column settings and rename. We've got a goal for the project, which is a lot of text. We've got an alignment, which is a, let's just have a look. It's a choice field, and you'll see here I've filled in some choices. And we have a sponsor, which again is a different kind of column. If we look at that one, that is a person column, and you can show profile photos. And what that means is people who have got an account on your Microsoft 365 tenant, they can just be picked and selected just by typing in a few letters of their name. Nice quick shortcut there. We've got an initiative lead there, where the value is coming from, and then we've got data that we might put in as the owner of this initiation list, let's say, and that's our evaluation notes, whether we want to send it for a board review, what the status is of that approval. That's just a choice column, and we can set our statuses up according to our requirements and preferences. And then we've got things like what's the next action, what's the outcome. You can do as many or as few of these as you like. So once you've decided on your data, that really is it for the setup for the people who are going to triage these requests. I'm just going to click a little favourite on project requests there. Now, here's the cool stuff. You want to ask people to put data into this list. Typically, you will need to give permissions to people to allow them to do things on this list, which may or may not mean that they can see data, they can delete data, they can see other people's data. That's a bit more complicated than we want to go into right now. So we're going to give them another option, and that option is through something called list forms. So if you pop to the top here, click forms. These are just really nice and easy to use forms that are baked into the list experience. But the beauty here is I can create a form and I can give that to somebody who's not an access member of this list. And what that means is that anybody who's got at least some level of permission on this SharePoint site can put data into my list for me, and we can control what they put in. So you can create multiple forms for multiple types of people. So maybe I want to send one to the HR team and I want to include all of the project data that I want to capture on that form. Maybe another team, I just want to ask them to submit a title, a goal, what kind of alignment it might be, and a sponsor. And I don't want all this extra stuff to be gathered. You can just simply get rid of it off the form. That's as easy as it has to be. You can do things like theming it. You can configure it so it notifies you when someone fills in a form. That's a nice quick shortcut. I'll show you another shortcut in another video, how you can go a little bit further and beyond that. But for now, when you're happy with your form, give it a title. It'll automatically save it. When you click preview, you can test your form. You can fill in data here. So let's just fill in some data. I'll just put this test user as a sponsor and click submit. And what that does for that person that's using that form, they get this experience. And that's all nice. We'll look at how we enhance that later on. But for the people doing the triage, it's loaded a record into their data store, into their SharePoint list. Now, the person filling in the form has no access to see this now. They can't change it, they can't delete it. It's not there for them effectively. They've just filled in a form, fired and forget. So in the next video, what we're going to do is going to show you how we can start to think about processing this data. But the first and very important step is to give some kind of feedback to those people who've just filled in a form. You saw there we could do notifications on the form itself, but we're going to use a tool called Power Automate to let the person who submitted the form know that it's in our list and it's safely received, and also let us know that something's there for us to action. And in a video after that, we'll show you how we then pass this data off once we've triaged it for various different kinds of approvals before we put it into our third-party system. So I hope that all made sense. Like I said before, don't forget to ask any questions that you've got in the comments and I'll get right back to you. Take care for now.